All right, how's everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning into the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? So, I'm kind of on the fence on how I really want to word this podcast, but basically, what I want to talk about is you getting bigger and stronger, maybe the one thing that's missing in your life to a certain point, I guess you could say, or just one component. If you know anything about me, my podcast or YouTube, I'm always trying to help people get into better shape or just give them advice on what I went through over the years, different workouts, different concepts, just trying to motivate people. And that does not mean I'm here to help train people necessarily personally. I've just been lifting weights my entire life and working out in general. If it gets a little loud here, I'm sorry, I'm near an airport. So there's going to be some planes flying over me. But, I've realized this over the years more than anything. And I'm going to really maybe I'll say something off color or whatever, but let's just take skinny people or skinny guys that I know. And I was one of these guys. I've discussed it many times in my podcast, how I went from one extreme to another size-wise. Even from high school, like I was 135 pounds. Excuse me. Less than 2 years later, I'm 210, heading into 220 pounds. I had a late growth spurt between 18 and 19. I grew like 4 inches, and I was always lifting weights. I guess it just caught up with me. I just started eating a lot more. But I realized over the years, and this goes for a lot of my friends that were skinny or little, and this is all different ages, even now, is that a little strength, some power, gaining some weight, and just, building that strength is a really huge game changer for a lot of people, especially when it comes to helping them with their confidence and really feeling better about themselves. I think it's it's kind of frowned upon a lot of times if you take, let's just, what always made me laugh about, let's just say geeks, because I had a lot of friends that are geeks, still do, because especially if you're in the film industry, because I used to love playing sports, and then I ended up trying, some stuff in the film industry. And a lot of guys in that industry, they're not huge into fitness now, maybe, but back in the the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and all 2010s, a lot of guys, it was not nearly as what it was, and it was kind of a badge of honor to kind of be nerdy, skinny, a writer, look a certain way with glasses, that whole thing. Just like if you work out, it's kind of a badge of honor to be big in the gym and strong and have muscles and be able to move a lot of weight. They both go, hand in hand with what they are. But what's interesting is, especially with a lot of artists that I've seen, is if they do start to work out and they start to get that strength, how it really does change them and makes them a lot more confident, I think, in who they are, and even the way they think, the way they walk, the way they talk. Now, I'm not saying nerds, geeks, or any of that stuff, that they're not confident or that they're all shy or timid. That's ridiculous. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, it's just a lot of people don't realize, and this is for men and women, just by becoming a little bit stronger, that does not mean you have to start going to the gym, 4 to 6 times a week. That does not mean you have to take yoga 3 times a week. That doesn't mean you have to run 20 miles a week. I think when people think of working out, it's excessive, which is ridiculous, and I think that's been programmed into our brains, which I tell people like years ago, at least I was around the 70s and 80s, when people worked out, it was not like it is now. Not saying it's better or worse. It's more scheduled now, right? Back then, people worked out in the 70s and 80s kind of for a sport, and they didn't even do it that much. They just kind of did it in a casual manner just to stay in decent shape. You had like YMCAs, and I'm from Chicago, so you had the Chicago Health Club. You had little fitness centers that maybe you'd go to, but it was not like it is now. But it was more enjoyable, I think, to a certain point, because you just went to work out. Even if you went to play a little racquetball, little tennis, it was social, not as competitive. Now, I like the competitive side as well, but back to the geeks and the nerds and all them, what always kind of made me laugh, especially if you go to Comic-Con, and I always go to MegaCon and all these things, is a lot of skinny guys, they love superheroes, and for the most part, superheroes are jacked, right? They're super strong. And it's almost like the concept a lot of times with superheroes is they kind of come off as, kind of nerdy, especially Superman or some of them. And then all of a sudden they turn into this superhuman being. Well, he's a superhuman being in general, but just a lot of people have two sides to them. And I think a lot of geeks, nerds, or whatever you want to call these guys, I think they have that in them as well. At least most I've ever met. They're very creative. And I think a lot of times they want to get bigger, stronger. And I could even talk about somebody who I'm very close with. Actually, a bunch of people, but one very particular who was always kind of very thin and not very strong, who's starting to lift weights. And you can just tell he feels different about himself. And I'm not saying he's super jacked by any means, but he went, he was very thin, and now he has some muscle. I think he likes the way he looks. I think he likes the way he gets attention now from women differently. I think he likes feeling better. There's all these different components. And I don't think a lot of people realize, and this could go for any age, just by getting a little stronger, right? Building up a little muscle. Even if you can do something 2 times a week, right? And on the flip side of things too, if you're obese or heavy, it's brutal. I was very heavy at one time. I was like 250 pounds. But I lifted a lot of weights. But I was carrying some heavy weight around, at least for me. And the truth was, I actually loved being big. But my body was just breaking down, man. I was always profusely sweating. I was starting to get all these moles all over my body. My chest was getting red. I've discussed this before. My left arm was going numb one time. I was really in a place where I wanted to be 260 natural. I wouldn't mind even being 300, but I was never going to get on steroids. But I wanted to be 260. That was a goal I aimed for at a very young age. I just wanted to be a goddamn monster, and I was going to not stop. Even I looked at it too in the long term. All I have to do is gain 5-10 pounds a year, and at this point, I'll hit this mark when I was on target. But when I hit around 247, 250, I was strong as a bull for me. I was very, very strong, but I would get winded really bad. And what was interesting is, from a strength point of view, very strong. From feeling good, quite the opposite, not feeling good, but feeling strong, which was a very weird place to be because emotionally, I guess you could say, I never felt better. I loved eating, so I was eating 4,000 and 5,000 calories a day. I had enough money to eat whatever I wanted, go to any restaurants I wanted to go at that point in time. And I just liked being that big. I liked going to big and tall stores, getting a 3 or 4X shirt. I was like a 54, 56 coat. Everybody was always talking about how big you are. You walk down the sidewalk, people get out of the way. They call you a big guy. It's like you're a lovable character almost. You love, everyone hugs you, kids jump on your back, they're squeezing your arm because your arm's almost 20 inches or whatever. Every time someone saw me, the first thing out of their mouth would be, hey, you ready to eat? Let's go eat, I loved that part of it. I loved it. But I realized in the long term, it was destroying me. I just was, and then I had my daughter, and then I ended up going in and out of the hospital for long periods of time with her, and I lost some weight. But I held 230 for probably 20 years. So I definitely took a toll on my body with that. But if you're obese or heavy, I get it. Maybe just losing a little weight. And here's the thing too, maybe. If that doesn't work for you, you've tried it. I get it. Maybe just getting in a gym or finding something you like for fun. Again, I did a video on a podcast, I think, or I know I did a YouTube video, but making whatever you want to do social. Because I think a lot of times, a lot of overweight guys, they want to get in better shape. But they get caught where they're trying to lose weight before they do anything physical sometimes. Because a lot of times I think they go to a gym, they may feel like they failed, they don't want to be seen a certain way. They go there, they don't know what they're doing, and they think, oh, you know what, I'm 300 and whatever pounds, I could be 300, I got to lose 50, then I'm going to go in the gym, then I'm going to start lifting weights because I don't want to take all this fat, turn it into muscle, or whatever they're thinking or whatever they're doing. But I'm here to tell you, just start doing things physical not killing yourself. Most people are watching shows like The Biggest Loser and all this shit where they, you go on these shows, then all of a sudden they lose an astronomical amount of weight, which I despise too quickly. I don't like it for your skin. I don't like it for your heart. And I get being obese is not the best thing in the world, but I think losing weight or gaining weight slowly is the best way to go anytime. I think, personally, what I've gone through in my life and what I've seen. But again, if you're obese and you want to start, building muscle or just feeling a little different, find something you like to do. Now, if you don't like to do anything physical and you like to eat a bunch of shit food and lay around and you're lazy, I got a newsflash for you. It just doesn't work that way. Right? It just doesn't. I mean, you may consider diet pills and shit like that. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. But again, the same way I'm kind of telling somebody skinny to just gain a little muscle or strength and just to see how they feel. And a lot of times I'm telling you they feel better and they keep improving on that. The same way I'm telling somebody who's obese and heavy, look at it the same way. We're looking at, and I've discussed this before, just losing like a pound a month. May not sound like anything to you, but I'm telling you, in 2-3 years, you're going to lose 25, 30 pounds at least. But most likely when you decide I'm going to lose a pound a month or even a pound a week, they add up because you're usually losing more than just a pound. It's 2-3 pounds, right? So before you know it, in a year, you can lose 30 pounds very easily. Again, you still may be obese, but you're progressing down and you're losing weight consistently. Your body's accepting that. I would all day rather do that than see somebody in 2 months lose 30 pounds, and I've discussed this. A month later, they're back up 10 pounds, then they lose 20, then they gain 40 back. All that type of bullshit is horrendous. I don't think it's good on any level, in my personal opinion. But yeah, again, just if you're obese, go at it slowly. And again, if you're in the gym, I don't care what it is. If you're really obese, you can't run, you can't do certain things. I get it. I would recommend going in the water, swimming, just walking, trying to do some lunges in there, even if you do water aerobics, getting in that sauna, and really backing up your food increments. Because most of the time, not everyone, most of the time, what you're eating, how much you're eating, what time of the day you're eating, is really having a monster effect on you. Now, I eat whatever I want, whenever I want. I've been given incredible genetics by my parents, but I always said one of the 2 main reasons I worked out. One is because I want to be big and strong as possible because I have an insecurity complex. I don't want to be skinny and small. I want to be looked at as strong and powerful. The second one, the reason I worked out like an animal is because I wanted to be able to eat whatever I want to eat. I come from an Italian background, and I was not changing my culture of food, I guess you could say, for anyone. I still love to have pasta every day. I don't do it, but I will do it. I've been doing it. Lately, I've even been on a lasagna kick. I don't even care, but I travel to all. If you know anything about my videos on YouTube or even my podcast, I'm always traveling to Italian neighborhoods in North America, usually Italian restaurants, and I just want to eat what I want to eat. So I'm very passionate about that. So that's one of the other reasons I work out hard. Now, if I stop working out and eating the way I eat now, I don't even know where I'm going to end up, truthfully. But both of those things kind of go hand in hand because now that I'm 50, I still like to be big and strong, or at least in what I think is pretty big and strong, which I'm only 200 pounds. I am by no means nearly as big as I used to be, and there's millions of guys way bigger and stronger than me, which I could care less about. But me even staying in shape and working out, again, very similar to what I was saying about somebody who's thin and somebody who's obese, I just feel better when I do that. And I don't have to be, I have no interest in going into a show. I have no interest in, say, doing a marathon, a decathlon, a Tough Mudder. I know exactly who I am and what I want to get out of my workouts and what I want to look like and what I want to be. So regardless if you're skinny, obese, or even in the middle, if you want to try something or get in better shape, bigger, just start slow and just start. I tell people a lot of times the hardest thing for most people is starting. And I think the other thing is, I think people don't like to spend money. Like joining a gym, or if they want to join yoga. I don't care if they want to go to Pilates. I don't care what they want to do. Join certain clubs. I also think they don't want to sometimes gain weight or lose weight because then they have to buy a new wardrobe. Also, if you're thinner and you want to get bigger and stronger, you're going to have to spend more money on food, and probably healthier food, because a lot of guys I know that are skinny and scrawny or whatever, not all of them, but a lot of them eat shit food. A lot of them eat fast food. They don't really pay attention to what they're eating. Not all of them, but I'm just saying. And a lot of people that are obese, I know, eat a lot of shit food as well. It's quite interesting because I see, and I've been around a lot of people where I've seen very thin, unhealthy people and then very obese, overweight people. And a lot of the foods they both eat are very similar a lot of times, especially fast foods, right? They wouldn't all be there if people weren't eating them. But a lot of writers, I guess you could say just guys in front of computers, programmers, all these different things, because I've created video games with guys. I've edited movies and all that. They kind of sit in a room and they edit all day and they eat whatever they can, whenever they can. And I think the same with, I've seen obese people who've worked in the industry as well, who sit around, same concept, who eat the same types of foods. I think sometimes, obviously, the one who's obese may be eating more, but not necessarily always. I think, and I've discussed this all the time, genetics plays a huge role in what we're doing. But nonetheless, I just thought I would bring that up for people, because I think you just really need to pay attention to yourself and look at the long term, especially you young guys. If you're 20 years old, what do you want to look like when you're 50? Same with somebody who's obese, 20, 30s. I don't care what age you are. What do you really want to look like when you're 50? If you're aging. And I had these discussions. I just had one with my daughter and my cousin, because my cousin in the 80s was a runner. And he used to come to me and go, "Yeah, I love running. Why don't you run with me?" And I used to say, because I don't like the way they look. And he'd be like, well, they're in great shape. I'm like, I don't mind running once in a while, but I do not want to look like a runner. And that's not saying every runner looks the same. That's ridiculous, especially now with guys who do CrossFit and everything. But back in the 80s, a lot of them, and I still think a lot of runners to this day, their body starts looking, to me, it's very thin. It looks like it's collapsing. I also think they take a major toll on their lower back, knees, ankle, whatever. I just didn't like that build. So he started working out with weights off and on his whole life, and now he's like 45, and my daughter was just discussing the same thing about a runner's body. And I said, I used my cousin for an excuse, and said, he actually thanked me once and said, "Thanks for kind of introducing me to weights. I would have just ran." But me lifting weights, my upper body, lower body, is built a foundation now that I'm going older. If I ran, he didn't think he'd have that foundation. And it's not just about, say, building a foundation starting at 45 years old. It's not bad. He started in his 20s lifting weights off and on. So his body adjusted to it, and he's very strong and powerful for his age. And he still likes running here and there, but it wasn't the only thing he did, is what I guess I'm saying. So, but if you like running, you like doing whatever you like to do, God bless you. But just really think about getting a little better in shape. A little bit goes a long way, and especially, I promise you, if you start building muscle and getting stronger, it's going to have an impact on you like you've probably never had before. Something with men, I don't know what it is, but when you start having some power, at least that I've seen my entire life, it really is a game changer, and I really think it helps people with their confidence more than anything. So I thought I would do a podcast on that. I got to take off and get to the airport. Thanks for listening. If you get a chance, you might want to check out my YouTube video. I've been putting a lot of things fitness related on there. Also, all my favorite Italian restaurants, Italian communities. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you could, leave a comment, share, do whatever you like to do. But yeah, that's all I got for you. Take care, and if you're traveling, safe travels.